नमो ओं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I hope all you are doing well. Today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 3. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 3. So, before we start, let's pray first. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So let's begin. Please listen very carefully. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 3. Nigama, Kalpa, Taro, Galitam, Phalam, Sukha, Mukhada, Amrita, Drava, Samyutam, Pivata, Bhagavatam, Rasamalayam, Muhur, Oho, Rasika, Bhuvi, Bhavuka। निगमकल्पतरुर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखामृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। निगमकल्पतरुर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखामृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। Synonym: Nigama. Nigama means the Vedic literature. Kalpataru. Kalpataru means desire tree. Galitam, fully matured. Phalam, fruit. Sukha, Srila Shukdev Goswami, the original speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. Mukha, from the lips of. Amrita means nectar. Drava. Drava means semi-solid and soft, and therefore easily swallowable. Samyutam. Samyuta means perfect in all respect. Pivata. Pivata means do release it. Bhagavatam. The book dealing with the science of eternal relation with the Lord. Rasham. Juice. That which is releasable. Rasamalayam. Alayam. Alayam means until liberation or even in a liberated condition. Mukha, always. Aho, oh. Rasika. Rasika, those who are full in knowledge of Milo. Bhubi, on the earth. Bhabuka, expert and thoughtful. Expert and Bhavuka, expert and thoughtful. O expert and thoughtful man, the released Srimad Bhagavatam. O expert and thoughtful man, released Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of desired tree of Vedic literature. The mature fruit of desired tree of Vedic literature. It emanates from the lip of Sukdev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already releasable for all, including liberated soul. O expert and thoughtful men, release Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of desire tree of Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukdev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was always relatable for all, including liberated soul. Purport is given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the two previous sloka, it has been definitely proved that Srimad Bhagavatam it is a sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is a transcendental to all mundane activity and mundane knowledge. In the sloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only the superior literature but is a ripened fruit of the Vedic literature. In other words, in it is the cream of Vedic knowledge. Considering all this patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lesson imparted by Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all this knowledge by men. They deal with the mundane necessity as well as the spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulative principle of knowledge covering the social, political, religious, economic, military, medical, chemical, medical, medicinal, chemical, physical, and the metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above, above and beyond all this are specific direction for spiritual realization. Regulative knowledge involves the gradual rising of living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual taste and rasa. Every living entity, beginning from Brahma, the firstborn living being, within the material world down to insignificant ant desired to release some sort of taste derived from the perception. These sensual pleasure are technically called rasa. These rasa are the different variety. In the revealed scripture, the following 12 variety of rasa are enumerated. One is Raudra, anger. Second, Adbhuta. Adbhuta means wonder. Shringara. Shringara means conjugal love. 4. Hasya. Hasya means the comedy. 5 means Veera. Veera means clevery. 6. Daya. Daya means mercy. 7. Dasya. Dasya means servitorship. 8. Sakhya. Sakhya means fraternity. 9. Vayanaka. Vayanaka means horror. 10. 10 में Vivatsya. 10 is Vivatsya means shock. 11 Santya. Santa means neutrality. And 12 is Vatsalya. Vatsalya means parenthood. The sum total of all these rasa is called affection or love. Primary such sign of love are manifested in adoration, service, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. When these five are absent, when these fives are absent, love is present indirectly in anger, wonder, comedy, clevery, fear, shock, and so on. For example, when a man is in love with a woman, the rasa is called conjugal love. But when such love affairs are distributed, there may be wonder, anger, shock, or even horror. Sometimes love affair between 2% culminate in ghastly mundane scene. Such rasa are displayed between men and between animal and animal. There is no possibility of exchange of or rasa between a man and animal or between man and other species of living being within the material world. The rasas are exchanged between members of same species, but as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasa were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole. The Supreme Personality Godhead, the spiritual exchange of rasa is fully exhibited in the spiritual existence between living being and Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore described in the Shruti Mantra, the Vedic hymn, as the fountain-headed of all rasa. When one associates with the Supreme Lord and exchange one constitutional rasa with the Lord, then the living being actually happy. These Shruti mantra indicate that every living being has its own constitutional position, which is endowed with a particular type of rasa to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead. In the liberated condition only, this primary rasa is explained in full. In the material existence, the rasa is experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary, and thus the rasa of material world are exhibited in the material form of Raudra, anger, and so on. Therefore, one who attain full knowledge of these different rasa, which are the basic principle of activity, can understand the false representation of the original rasa, which are reflected in material world. The learned scholars seek to release the real rasa in spiritual form. In the beginning, he desired to become one with the Supreme. Thus, less intelligent transcendentalists can go beyond this conception of becoming one with the spirit whole without the knowing the different rasa. In this sloka, it is definitely stated that the spiritual rasa, which is the released even in the liberated stage, can be experienced in in the liberated in the literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam due to its being the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. By submissively hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. But one must very careful to hear the message from the right source. Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly received from the right source. It was bought by Narad Muni from spiritual world and given to the disciple of Sri Vyasadeva. The latter in the latter in turn delivered the message to his son Srila Sukdev Goswami, and Sukdev Goswami delivered the message to Maharaj Pariksit just 7 days before the king's death. Srila Sukdev Goswami was a liberated soul. From very birth, he was liberated even in the womb of his mother, and he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth. At birth, no one is qualified neither in the mundane nor in the spiritual sense. But Srila Sukdev Goswami, due to his being a perfectly liberated soul, did not have to undergo any evolutionary process for spiritual realization. Yet, despite his being a completely liberated person situated in the transcendental position above the three material nature, he was attracted to the transcendental rasa of the Supreme Personality Godhead, who is adored by liberated soul who sing Vedic hymns. The Supreme Lord pastime are more attractive to liberated soul than the mundane people. He is of necessity not impersonal. He is of necessity not impersonal because it is only possible to carry on transcendental rasa with a person. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and the narration is systematically depicted by Srila Shukdev Goswami. The subject matter is appealing to all class of person, including those who seek liberation and those who seek to become one with the supreme whole. In Sanskrit, the parrot is also known as a sukha. When the ripened fruit is cut by the red beak of such bird, its sweet flavor is enhanced. The Vedic fruit, which is mature and ripe in knowledge, is spoken through the lip of Srila Shukdev Goswami, who is compared to the parrot not for his ability to recite the Bhagavatam exactly as heard it from his learned father, but for his ability to present the work in a manner that would appeal to all class of men. The subject matter is presented through the lip of Sri Shukdev Goswami that any sincere listener that hears submissively can at once release transcendental tastes which are distinct from the perverted taste of the material world. The ripened fruit is not dropped all the sudden all of a sudden from the highest planet of Krishna Loka. Rather, it has come down carefully through the chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. The foolish people who are not in transcendental disciplic succession commit great blunder by trying to understand the highest transcendental rasa known as rasa dance without following the footstep of Sukdev Goswami, who present this fruit very carefully by stage of transcendental realization. One should be intelligent enough to know the position of Srimad Bhagavatam by considering personality like Sukdev Goswami, who deal with the subject so carefully. The process of disciplic succession of Bhagavata school suggests that in the future also, Srimad Bhagavatam has to be understood from the person who is factually a representative of Srila Sukdev Goswami. A professional man who makes a business out of reciting the Bhagavatam illegally is certainly not a representative of Sukdev Goswami. Such a man's business is only to earn his livelihood. Therefore, one should refrain from hearing the lecture of such professional man. Such men usually go to the most confidential part of literature without undergoing the gradual process of understanding the grave subject. They usually plunge into the subject matter of rasa dance, which is misunderstood by the foolish class of men. Some of them take this is to be immoral, while others try to cover it up by their own stupid interpretation. They have no desire to follow in the footsteps of Sila Shukdev Goswami. One should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of rasa should receive the message of Bhagavatam in the chain of disciplic succession from Srila Shukdev Goswami, who described the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukdev Goswami or his bona fide representative. Here we concluded a reading of Bhaktivedanta Purport from Srimad Bhagavatam. I hope all you understood. Now let's jump into the inside. We have made separate video and audio presentation and we are attaching both of it with the original one. So please listen till the end. You must get the better understanding. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into just a single but incredibly profound verse from an ancient text. It uses this amazing metaphor, a piece of fruit of all things, to completely reframe how we think about knowledge, and, maybe more importantly, how we should receive it.
So, this is it. This is the core metaphor we're going to spend our time unpacking. It's describing a specific text, but not as a book. It calls it the mature fruit from a special kind of tree. And here's the real kicker. It claims this fruit actually becomes even sweeter after being touched by a certain person. I mean, how is that even possible? So that's the big mystery we're going to try and solve together. What in the world is this desire tree of knowledge? What's this nectarian juice inside the fruit? And who is this person compared to a parrot who has the power to make knowledge itself taste better?
Okay, let's jump right in. To understand the fruit, we've got to start with its source, the tree.
So, the text kicks things off by comparing the entire massive collection of Vedic literature to a mythical Kalpataru, which is a desire tree. And why a desire tree? Well, because just like a magical tree that could give you anything you ask for, these texts are said to contain the answer to any kind of knowledge you could possibly want.
And when they say any kind of knowledge, they mean it. I mean, look at this list. It's not just heady philosophy. We're talking about the whole shebang: how to run a government, economic strategy, medicine, physics, and then, at the very top, the ultimate knowledge: how to achieve spiritual realization. It's all there.
So, if the tree is the source of literally all knowledge, what about the fruit? Well, the verse calls its essence nectarian juice, or in the original Sanskrit, rasa. And this is where things get really interesting. Now, this is the absolute key. This fruit of knowledge isn't about dry, boring information. Rasa literally means taste. It's an experience, something you can actually savor, especially within a relationship. And this isn't just some vague, poetic idea. Oh no, the source text gets incredibly specific about it. It actually lays out 12 primary varieties of these relational tastes, these rasas. And just look at the incredible range we've got here. Of course, you have the direct tastes of love, friendship, parenthood, things we'd expect. But then you get these indirect tastes, which include anger, comedy, and get this, even horror and shock. Now, how can those possibly be a taste of a relationship? Well, here's the philosophical mic drop. The text argues that every single one of these tastes, even the ones that feel negative like anger or fear, are all, at their core, just expressions of one fundamental thing: love or affection. The indirect ones are just what happens when that original love gets twisted or blocked somehow. So the main argument starts to become crystal clear. All the tastes we experience in our everyday lives, the love, the anger, the friendships, they're described as being like temporary, distorted reflections. They're a shadow of an original, spiritual rasa, the real deal, which is meant to be experienced in a liberated state with the divine. And this fruit, it promises that real thing. Which brings us to the weirdest and maybe the coolest part of the whole metaphor. Remember, the verse says the fruit becomes even more tasteful because a guy named Sri Shukadeva Goswami spoke it. So, what's the deal with the speaker? And here it is, the key that unlocks everything. It's a fantastic little bit of wordplay in Sanskrit. The name of the sage who first spoke this text, Shukadeva, literally contains the word shuka, which means a parrot. And that is absolutely not a coincidence. It's the heart of the whole metaphor. See, the text is tapping into this simple, beautiful observation from nature. It's said that when a parrot pecks into a ripe fruit, it somehow makes the flavor even sweeter. In that same way, this fruit of knowledge, which is already perfect and mature, becomes even more delicious, even more relishable when it's delivered by this particular speaker. Now, this doesn't just mean the speaker is mindlessly, parroting what he heard. It's actually the opposite. It points to a really unique skill, the ability to take this incredibly deep knowledge and present it in such a way that it becomes delicious and easy to digest for everyone, no matter who you are or what your background is. So all of this builds up to a direct command in the verse, pibata, which means relish it or drink it. So the question is, how are we supposed to actually drink this nectarian juice of knowledge? Well, we learn that this fruit didn't just fall off the tree and roll into the dirt. No way. It was passed down, very carefully, hand to hand, through an unbroken chain of teachers, a disciplic succession, to make absolutely sure its purity and potency were kept perfectly intact. And that means that getting the real taste isn't automatic. The text warns us that we have to be extremely careful to get this knowledge from the right source, from someone who is a genuine representative in that chain of delivery. And the text is super specific about who to avoid. It basically says, look, stay away from the professional reciters who are just doing it as a job to make money. Steer clear of people who jump to the super confidential stuff without building a proper foundation.
And, most importantly, avoid anyone who's just giving you their own wild interpretations instead of the original message. Because here's the ultimate promise. For the person who is truly sincere, who is serious, and who approaches this knowledge in the right way, by listening carefully from the right source, they can immediately start to taste it. They can begin to relish that original, transcendental rasa that this fruit holds. So we're left with this really powerful idea to think about. Knowledge isn't just some static, dead thing to be picked up. It's alive. It's a fruit, and it has a taste. And that taste can be completely transformed by the person who brings it to us. It's a fascinating thought about the deep, intimate connection between the message, the messenger, and how we ourselves experience truth.
Now we completed the video presentation. Let's begin with audio podcast.
Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in data, bombarded by endless information, always searching for that one thing, that nugget of wisdom that really cuts through?
Yeah, it's like information overload is the default state these days.
Exactly. And you're wishing for a direct path, maybe like a shortcut to really getting it, to being properly informed on something complex. What if, amidst all that noise, there was like a single ripened fruit of all knowledge, something easily digestible, really potent, and just perfectly nourishing, spiritually speaking?
That's a compelling idea. A single source of deep satisfaction.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into exactly that, using ancient wisdom. We're exploring excerpts from the nectarian fruit of Vedic knowledge, which really focuses on the profound text Srimad Bhagavatam.
Right, I think of this as our guide to, well, ultimate satisfaction, you could say.
Our mission today really is to unpack this description of Srimad Bhagavatam as the, quote, cream of Vedic knowledge.
Yeah, and we want to explore its unique ability to reveal these deep spiritual tastes or rasas. It's a concept that's, well, much bigger than you might think initially.
And crucially, we need to uncover how you receive this knowledge is just as vital as the knowledge itself.
Exactly. It's not just what you learn. The integrity of the path it takes to reach you that's key to making sure its transformative power is actually, intact.
We'll be drawing directly from this rich source material we have, which meticulously lays out these honestly fascinating concepts. It guides us through the origins, the significance, how to understand it properly.
All with the goal of helping you, the listener, discern genuine spiritual nourishment from those more fleeting material tastes.
Okay, let's unpack a core metaphor right from the start. The Vedas themselves, our source, compares them to a desire tree, Nigama Kalpatara.
Right, the desire tree.
What does that actually signify? I mean, a desire tree, that's an ancient concept, right? A mythical tree that fulfills all desires.
Precisely. And what's fascinating here is the sheer breadth of the Vedas, according to our source. It's not just, religious texts.
No, apparently they contain all things knowable by man.
Think about that scope. It covers, well, pretty much everything. Social, political, economic stuff.
Military strategy, medicine, even chemistry and physics.
Right. All the mundane necessities for navigating material life. But, crucially beyond that, they also provide specific directions for spiritual realization.
Step-by-step directions, aiming to gradually raise the living entity to a spiritual platform.
Yeah, it's a complete knowledge system. A full spectrum, really, from the material right up to the transcendental.
So if the Vedas are this huge, comprehensive desire tree, offering everything you could possibly want to know,
then Srimad Bhagavatam is presented as its ripened fruit, Alita Phalam.
Yes, Galata Phalam. Our source calls it the sublime literature. It explicitly says it surpasses other Vedic scriptures because of its transcendental qualities.
And it's referred to specifically as the cream of all Vedic knowledge, like the most concentrated essence.
So that begs the question, why ripened fruit? Why not just, a fruit?
Well, the text really emphasizes that it's not just superior, it's fully matured. Think about picking a green, unripe fruit versus one that's perfectly ripened on the branch, just full of sweet nectar.
Oh, okay.
This ripened fruit, it offers a highly relishable juice, rasam, specifically for expert and thoughtful men, rasikava bhuvi havuko.
So it suggests a kind of knowledge that's not just comprehensive or ultimate, but also deeply satisfying.
Right.
And easy to assimilate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially for those who are genuinely ready to appreciate its depth, its immediate transformative power. This isn't just theory. It's designed to be immediately relishable.
Profoundly nourishing for your inner being.
Right.
Okay, this idea of the ripened fruit being so relishable for those expert and thoughtful people, That leads us right into this concept of rasa.
Yes, rasa, it's absolutely central.
Our texts introduce this as the taste or sensual pleasure that every living entity desires to relish. And when we say every, I mean
Everything, from the highest being, like Brahma, the first created being in the universe, down to the smallest ant. Everyone is searching for this taste.
Can you break down what this universal search for taste really means for us?
Well, what's really insightful here is understanding that basically every single human experience, from our deepest joys to our most intense angers, it's fundamentally a search for rasa, a search for some kind of taste.
Okay.
Our texts categorize these emotional tastes into 12 main varieties. It's like a full spectrum covering pretty much every emotional experience.
12. Wow.
Yeah, you have the intense ones like Radra, which is primal anger, and Adbhuta, that feeling of pure wonder.
Then the connections, like inner
Conjugal love, yes. And Vatsalya, parental affection. Then there's Hasya, comedy, Vira, chivalry, Daya, mercy, Dasya, servitorship, Sakya, fraternity.
And the darker ones, too.
Right. Payanha, which is horror, and Bapatsa, shock or disgust. It's really a comprehensive map. Understanding these universal cravings that drive us all, it highlights this innate desire for emotional engagement in every living being.
It really sounds like the full spectrum of human and even animal emotion. And the source material says the sum total of all these rasas is affection or love.
Yes, love. And interestingly, it explains that love primarily shows up in 5 direct forms: adoration, service, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love.
Okay, those make sense.
But here's where it gets really fascinating. When these fundamental expressions are disturbed or absent, love actually shows up indirectly,
How so?
as anger, wonder, or even horror. The source gives this stark example, doesn't it? Conjugal love, when it's disturbed, can culminate in, well, ghastly murder scenes.
Wow. That's a powerful, if chilling, illustration of how these tastes can get twisted, perverted when they're cut off from their true source.
Exactly. And what's particularly crucial here is the distinction the source makes about how these rasas are exchanged.
Ah, right. Material rasas.
They're exchanged only between members of the same species, man to man, animal to animal. You don't typically see that same kind of deep, reciprocal emotional exchange, that rasa between a man and, say, a tree.
Or even an animal in quite the same way as between two people.
Right. However, the spiritual truth, as it's explained, is that all spirit souls are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord.
Meaning?
Meaning, the rasas were originally exchanged between the individual spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So that's the spiritual exchange, the real rasa.
Yes, the real rasa, which is fully exhibited in spiritual existence. It's a very profound idea about our original spiritual connection and that universal longing we all feel for it.
That's a huge distinction, material rasas being species-specific, while spiritual ones are universal. Does the text elaborate on why that's so crucial? Like, what happens when we try to fit a spiritual longing into a material box?
Well, interestingly, the ancient Vedic hymns, the Vuti mantras, they describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the absolute fountainhead of all rasas.
The fountainhead. Okay, so what does that imply for our own happiness, our, endless search for fulfillment in this world?
According to the text, true lasting happiness comes when you associate with the Supreme Lord and exchange your own constitutional rasa with him.
Constitutional rasa, meaning?
It says every living being has a unique constitutional position, sort of like a spiritual personality, endowed with a particular type of rasa that's meant to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead.
So it's not just finding happiness generally, but discovering and engaging our unique inherent spiritual connection, our personal flavor of divine relationship.
Precisely, and this gives us a powerful contrast. In material existence, these same rasas are experienced, but in a perverted temporary form.
Like that raw anger, radra, or shock, bapatsa we talked about.
Exactly. They're like distorted reflections of the pure spiritual reality, like seeing a blurry image in a, cracked mirror. But in the liberated condition, the primary rasa is experienced in full, in its pure, undistorted essence.
So understanding these different rasas helps us see the difference between the false representations here and the original pure ones.
Yes, it helps you discern what's merely reflected in the material world. It's about seeing through the illusion to the genuine article, recognizing what's fleeting versus what's truly satisfying and eternal.
So the learned scholar, they're seeking to relish the real rasa in its spiritual form. It's a quest for authenticity, really.
It is. And it also cautions, interestingly, that Less intelligent transcendentalists might only seek oneness with the spirit whole.
A kind of formless spiritual reality.
Right, and in doing so, they potentially miss the rich depth and the dynamic exchanges of these different rasas that exist within the divine.
They might be content with just sort of dissolving into a spiritual void.
Instead of experiencing the vibrant, flavorful relationships of the spiritual realm, it's like preferring a bland, uniform meal over a whole banquet of diverse, exquisite tastes.
Now, our texts really emphasize repeatedly that to actually experience this spiritual rasa through Srimad Bhagavatam, you have to hear it from the right source.
Yes, this is critical.
It's not just about reading it intellectually, it's about a living transmission, a direct lineage.
Exactly. Like wanting to learn a complex piece of music, you need a master, right? Someone to show you not just the notes, but the nuance, the feeling, the rasa of the composition.
Right.
And the text details this precise chain of disciplic succession. It's there to ensure the purity and authenticity of the knowledge.
This isn't just history, then.
No, it's the very backbone of its authenticity. Imagine a sacred recipe passed down generation after generation, master chef to apprentice. Each step ensures the purity, the potency of the dish.
Okay, I see.
Similarly, Narada Muni, he didn't just pass on knowledge from the spiritual world to his disciples through Vyasadeva. He imbued him with the spiritual realization needed to truly comprehend it and, well, codify it.
And Vyasadeva then entrusted it to his son.
To his son, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, yes, who then delivered the message to Maharaja Parikshit. It's a deliberate, careful descent designed to preserve its integrity and power, without change, without disturbance.
And Sukadeva Goswami himself is just fascinating. The text says he was liberated from birth.
Yes, liberated from birth, meaning he didn't need any spiritual training after he was born. It's an incredibly rare state.
Unbelievable. Yet, even though he was perfectly liberated, he was still attracted to this transcendental rasa of the supreme personality of Godhead.
Exactly, and this really highlights a profound truth. The Lord's pastimes, his activities, are actually more attractive to liberated souls than they are to, mundane people caught up in material things.
That's counterintuitive almost.
It is, and it underscores that the Lord must be personal for this exchange of transcendental rasas to happen. You can't have a personal, loving exchange with some impersonal, formless void. It's the personality that allows for the relationship, for the rasa.
And speaking of how this knowledge is transmitted, there's that wonderful analogy the text uses involving a parrot.
Ah, yes, the parrot analogy. Sukha in Sanskrit means parrot. It's very vivid.
How does it go again?
Well, the idea is when a ripened fruit is cut or sort of bitten into by the red beak of a parrot, its sweet flavor isn't diminished, it's actually enhanced.
They're enhanced. How?
Becomes even more palatable, somehow easier to savor. Similarly, this mature Vedic fruit, the Bhagavatam, already ripe with knowledge, becomes even more exquisitely sweet and easy to digest when it's spoken through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami.
Ah, because Shuka means parrot.
Right. He's compared to the parrot not just for, reciting it, but for his unique ability to present the work in a way that appeals to all classes of people. He enhances its spiritual flavor, making it easily swallowable, easily assimilated.
So the delivery makes the already sweet even sweeter, ensuring its full impact.
Precisely.
So for you, the listener, if you're sincere and submissive, the core message is that by hearing from this right, authentic source,
you can at once relish these transcendental tastes. Tastes that are fundamentally distinct, fundamentally different from the perverted material tastes we experience every day.
It's like an immediate, profound shift in perspective and experience, moving from the fleeting to the eternal.
Yes, exactly.
And that emphasis on purity and preservation really sticks with me. It highlights that certain knowledge isn't just about discovery, it's about faithful transmission.
Absolutely. This ripened fruit, as the source says, didn't just suddenly drop from the highest spiritual planet.
Right.
It came down carefully through that chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. This meticulous preservation is what ensures its original potency and flavor are maintained, making it genuinely effective for spiritual realization.
Which then leads into a pretty critical warning in the text.
Yes, a very important one.
It explicitly states that, quote, foolish people who are not in the transcendental disciplic succession commit great blunders by trying to understand the highest transcendental rasa, known as the rasa dance, without following in the footsteps of Shukadeva Goswami.
Who presents this fruit very carefully by stages of transcendental realization.
Yes. It's a stark caution against, spiritual shortcuts and trying to grasp things before you're ready.
It really raises an important question about how we approach profound knowledge, doesn't it?
It does. The text specifically cautions against these professional men who essentially make a business out of reciting the Bhagavatam, but illegally, meaning outside the proper disciplic context.
Because they're focused on livelihood or popularity, maybe.
Right, and they often jump straight to the most confidential parts of the literature, like the rasa dance, without going through the gradual, systematic process of understanding this, frankly, very grave and sacred subject.
And that leads to problems. Huge misunderstandings. Some might take it as immoral, or they offer these stupid interpretations, as the text puts it, because they just don't follow the careful, systematic presentation given by Srila Shukadeva Goswami.
It's like trying to understand, I don't know, advanced calculus without mastering basic arithmetic first.
Exactly. The results would be, well, catastrophic, intellectually speaking. The text is clear. These advanced concepts, they require a purified heart and mind. And that purification comes through the gradual process of hearing properly.
So for you, the serious student of rasa, the conclusion seems pretty clear.
It is. To truly enjoy this ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge, to really drink its nectarian juice, you must receive the message of Bhagavatam within the chain of disciplic succession.
From Srila Shukadeva Goswami, or his bona fide representative.
Yes, someone who describes it systematically right from the very beginning. It's the difference between, say, trying to savor a complex gourmet dish by only tasting the garnish.
Versus following the chef's full, careful preparation, letting each flavor unfold exactly as intended.
Beautifully put. That's exactly the idea.
Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive today. We've explored Srimad Bhagavatam as this ultimate fruit of Vedic knowledge, really designed for profound spiritual nourishment.
And we've understood, hopefully a bit better, this concept of rasas, those spiritual and material tastes that universally drive us.
And highlighted that critical, often overlooked role of authentic, careful transmission through a lineage like Sukadeva Goswami's.
It really is a journey from just superficial understanding to a truly profound, relishable experience.
So this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to ponder.
Yes.
If our deepest happiness really lies in exchanging our constitutional spiritual rasa with that divine fountainhead,
Then what are the perverted tastes in our own lives that might be distracting us from that ultimate pure experience? How might seeking out knowledge from these carefully preserved, authentically transmitted sources, how might that guide us?
guide us to distinguish between what truly nourishes our spirit and what just satisfies temporary, fleeting senses.
That's a powerful thought. Something to continue your own deep dive on the nature of true satisfaction. And importantly, the sources that genuinely offer it.